Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo. You guys are ready to go. I already see you in the chat box. Hey, everybody. For those that are new, my name's Bo Willette, and I do these morning Devos every day, Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock, usually on the dot, pretty close, till about maybe 9:30 or so. But we are in the book of Genesis. We are going through the Bible. We are in Genesis chapter 23 now. Man. So we are making it through Genesis. Super cool. I love this little short chapter. It's kind of neat. It's one of those beautiful ones. We were introduced to um, Isaac last chapter and kind of the uh, incredible faith of Isaac as this child of promise of Abraham and Sarah. And we were introduced also to his future wife by name, Rebecca. We saw this really short genealogy, and that was cool too. And now we're going to get into chapter 23. I kind of love the Bible. It always has these little hints of where we're going to go in this last chapter with that little genealogy of Rebecca. Shows kind of where we're going. We're going in this Rebecca and Isaac narrative. So that's where we're going, from Abraham and Sarah to Isaac and to Rebecca. And so that's how the narratives flow in this part of the book of Genesis. We've really narrowed down our genealogies from kind of we get into all these different genealogies from Noah's sons to now we're getting really specific into this family line of Abraham. So that's the big picture of where we're at in the book of Genesis. Everything always hinges on that first prophecy in the Bible, that through the seed of a woman would come one to destroy the serpent. And this thread is running throughout these narratives of these people in the Middle East. And really wild. Very, very interesting for sure. So, want to say hi to Paula. And we certainly going to be praying for you. And we want to just say hi to Jesus and Tina and Casey. And Marsha's in the house too. Man, awesome. So it's super glad to have you guys. So 23, chapter 23. You can always check out the archives at my YouTube channel, Bo Willette. Okay, so when Sarah was 127 years old, whoa, that's a long time to be doing it, huh? Long time to be living and living this life, doing that life thing. And now remember, she had the child when she was what, in her 90s? Isaac in her 90s. So, Isaac's older by now, right? He's getting up there. He's 30s, somewhere in there. So Sarah was 127 years old when she died in Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Now, this is important, and I kind of like this, and that is really the promised land is this land of Canaan. And here she dies there. It's like she's in the promised land. She's there. And she made it there. It's kind of like finishing your race strong. You're kind of, we want to finish our race strong in this life. And the Bible has emphasized this idea too from what was called the fall of human beings, right out of the Garden of Eden. Ever since then, you hear this word, and this is so important. But it's the idea is that they died. This is something that the Bible records all the time. That death is now a part of everything, and it's what we call normal. Though it wasn't normal, but it's called normal now. And but she dies in Canaan, and that was special because you remember her and Abraham. Man, they really took a long trip to get to this promised land, a walk of faith together. And it says there, Abraham mourned and wept for her. Oh, what a beautiful passage, don't you think? So beautiful that Abraham mourned and wept for her. Weeping for people that we love, What a beautiful thing. Weeping because, they're going through pain, or they're going, they're going through just a time of trial, and it really burdens us in our heart. To see our loved ones frail, to see their bodies just winding down, that is all very, very difficult. And it's sad. And here we see the man of faith, Abraham, this mighty person of faith, yet just mourning and weeping for her. Here he's been married quite a while now and has gone through many ups and downs with Sarah. And he loved her. And she was a beautiful, beautiful woman. Sarah was so beautiful that even in her elderly years, rulers of that area saw that she was a special, very pretty woman, very beautiful lady. And wow, I mean, Abraham loved her for just, I'm sure, just so many things, and yet all those things come to his mind at this moment, and those trials that they've been through, and all those things that all mount up in our lives, right? The things you go through with your loved one, the trials, the difficult times, and yet they all add to our love for one another, our care for one another. And isn't that beautiful that happens? And I was going to say that when when we're weeping and mourning for people that we love, and that's a beautiful thing. That's a good thing. I saw a sister at church the other day who is mourning for a friend that she has just known forever in her life. And, her tears are beautiful tears. It's wonderful. I don't want to undervalue the importance of sympathizing and empathizing with our loved ones that are going through trials and suffering. And to weep for one another, what a beautiful thing. One of the most beautiful, precious narratives in the New Testament is found in John chapter 11, I think it is, where Jesus weeps for his friend that died. And it's a short verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. That's all it says. And there you see even Jesus, just filled with compassion. And why would I say even Jesus? Jesus, you would think, would be the most compassionate, right? Absolutely. It says, then standing beside her body, he said to the men of Heath, here I am, a visitor in a foreign land, right? Abraham has been, in a sense, sojourning through these areas. Just like us, how we sojourn in our world, and today's a day where we are sojourning on this planet. I'm not from, in a sense, this world. In a sense, we are, from another place. We need to get our minds focused on that. If you ever need to get focused more back on that, read Colossians chapter 3. It's a good, especially the beginning, have your heart and mind set on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of the Father. That's where we're seated, is at the right hand of the Father. Christ is there. Have our heart and mind set on that place, where our identity is. And Abraham knows that this land has been promised to him, but he realizes that he's a sojourner, and right now we are sojourners. There is a promise to us that we will one day inherit the land as well. Isn't that interesting? One day we will be rulers and reigners. It's kind of weird, but the church has given that promise that we will rule and reign one day with Christ over this earth. Isn't that interesting? Over this land. Literally, Jesus' reign will be from this area that Abraham is in right now, in this land of Canaan, nowadays known as the land of Israel. And he is going to bury his wife, and he says, please sell me a piece of ground for this purpose. So Abraham is going to now do something that I find very cool, and it's wrapped up in his new identity. And what I mean by that is Abraham was a foreigner. He's from a foreigner. He's from a different place. And yet here he is given this promise to this land. He's in this land, and now he wants to bury his dead in that land. Do you see that faith? Where he says, hey, I know this land's going to be mine. I am going to purchase it because this land is promised to my descendants. So purchasing that land really was an action contingent on his new identity. That's really what motivated him and sparked him to buy the land and bury his wife there. And I want to kind of have that kind of mindset too, to step out in faith and in a sense purchase the land that we are promised. You know, we are promised things, and I want to step out in faith and trust those things. I might not see it yet, right? Abraham did not see the full possession that he was promised of this land to himself. There was all these other tribes in this area. And yet he steps out in faith and says, hey, I'm going to purchase this land. And look at the price this guy pays. He is ready to invest it all in this piece of property. Now notice this, how this goes. And I kind of like this again of stepping out in faith and purchasing and in a sense of laying down roots, knowing that you don't see the promise just yet, but you hold fast to it. You know, God says he's going to see us through, that he who began the good work in you is going to be faithful to complete it, that the God of peace will sanctify us completely, body, soul, and spirit. He who calls us is faithful, who will also do it. Those are great promises in the Bible, that God will cleanse this body. He's going to cleanse his mind and this heart. He's going to do that great work in you. Yeah. That's the cool thing, is God will do it in you. We trust his mighty arm to get that work done, right? And we step out in faith, trusting those things, that, yeah, God is going to do it. And so I don't know what you need to step out in faith for today, or what I need to, but you know what? God, help us increase our faith to trust you, to trust your word, to remember that we are part of your family, and that nothing is impossible with the Lord, and that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. You know, we are people that are ambassadors of Christ. You know, just remembering who we are, our identity, and that's what Abraham's doing. He's remembering his new identity. It's in Yahweh, and he's going to hang where Yahweh told him to hang. And he's going to invest. Now check this out. Certainly, the men replied, you are an honored prince of God among us, and it will be a privilege to you to choose the finest of our sepulchres so that you can bury her here. And so kind of a cool statement, right? You are an honored prince of God. Gosh, Abraham's known as a prince of God among us. They know that he's got this interesting relationship with the deity, and God is with him. And so they say, it'll be a privilege for you to purchase and bury your dead here. And Abraham bowed low before them. Now look at the humility of Abraham. What kind of servant are we? You know, even though we might be, in a sense, a prince of God, a king's kid, so to speak, do I bow low before them and said, this is your feeling in the matter, so be kind, be so kind as to ask Ephron, Zohar's son, to sell me the cave of Machpelah down at the end of his field. I will of course pay the full price for it, whatever is publicly agreed upon, and it will become a permanent cemetery for my family. Love the humility there. Love the idea of bowing down before the tribal clan there, and that's why I ask, what kind of servant am I? Am I one that am I humble with those people that would be sometimes considered an enemy, or people that disagree, or that kind of idea? Am I able to humble myself? And notice Abraham doesn't do that. He doesn't say, hey, guess what? God promised me the land. You guys should give me this thing. And, it sounds like they would have given it to him, but notice that wasn't his heart, right? His heart was to walk humbly with those that are there. And he bows low before him. So this is an important precedent that Abraham sets, that we see in his character, that he is not one just to trifly, go to war with people or these kind of things. No, he is a humble person. He realized he's a foreigner, and he needs to just lay low and walk humbly. And so God, help us to walk humbly with people, and help us to not use our new identity as a way to hurt people, harm people, be rude to people, those kind of things. Heaven forbid, right? God forbid that. And then it says, Ephron was sitting there among the others, and now he spoke up, answering Abraham as the others listened, speaking publicly before all the citizens of the town. So this is kind of in the town kind of meeting area, usually the town gate, the city gate in the front. And he speaks up, Sir, he said to Abraham, please listen to me. I will give you the cave and the field without any charge. They want to give it to him free. And it says, here in the presence of the people, I give it to you free. Go bury your dead. Abraham bowed again to the men of Heth. He replied to Ephron as all listened, No, let me bury it for you. What a beautiful attitude. Someone want to give you something for free, but you don't do it. You don't take it. Now, this is something that Abraham's done in the past before. And you see, again, this character just in him is like, no, I know you want to give me it, but let me pay you. I want to pay. And he doesn't just want to pay, but he's going to pay full price of the field, and then I will bury my dead. Now, Abraham has in mind that he is going to buy this property that's kind of on the outskirts, the farthest area of the properties that are being looked at. So it's like if you were going to buy something in the town, you are buying the property that's furthest from, in a sense, the main area, the center. And Abraham does this because he knows that this is a piece of property that he wants to be kind of the establishment of the promise that he is part of this land, that he has a part of this land. He's given the promise. He is going to stay. His bodies, the bodies of his family, of his people, are going to stay in this area. So he says, I'm going to pay full price. Now, he pays 400 pieces of silver. That's what Abraham says. Hey, the land's worth 400 pieces of silver. Ephron, or that's what Ephron said. But what is that between friends? Go ahead and bury your dead. And it is publicly agreed that Abraham is going to pay this large sum of $400. It would be like someone, in today's market, they go, hey, the house is worth $1 million. But you know what? I'll sell it to you for $500,000, and you say no. I'm going to pay full price because this land is so important to me. Not only me, but my progeny after me. And it's so I'm paying not only for me to be on this land, but I'm paying down the road. I mean, I don't mind paying full price because it's worth it. It is. We are going to be using this land all throughout generation to generation. So you think of 20 generations, and you paid $1 million for a piece of property. Well, that was good money invested because that land's been now used for 20 generations plus. You can see where Abraham's thinking is, I am going to plop in this area. And I think there's a lot of wonderful faith there, trusting that, hey, there is going to be a future on this property for me. I think there's also a wonderful heart that he's trying to show people that don't know God, and that is that walking with God is an honest walk. It's one that we want to deal properly with our finances. We don't try to, just we're not bribers. We're not taking bribes. We don't want to walk that way. We don't mind paying for things. We want to do the right thing, the thing full of integrity. That's the heart that's behind. It's not that Abraham did everything in integrity, right? But you see, that's the heart here. And that's a great heart, to have manifested in our lives, is that heart of wanting to do right things. And so it says Abraham paid, and it says this is the land he bought, Ephron's field. This is verse 17. At Machpelah near Mamre, and the cave at the end of the field, and all the trees in the field. Abraham's stoked. He bought the tree, he bought the field, he bought the cave. And it says, and they became his permanent possession. There it is, right? Permanent possession. Well, what is your permanent possession? What is my permanent possession? Oh, man. Well, guess what? The Bible lets us know that Jesus has won us to him, and that we are his permanent possession, and that this earth is going to be his permanent possession, and we will be again rulers and reigners with him. That's the promises that you find in the New Testament. Pretty radical, right? And that we too are going to have a permanent possession, an inheritance that is found in Christ. Whatever the Son inherits, we along with him inherited as well. And it says they became his permanent possession by agreement in the presence of the men of Heth of the city gate. So Abraham buried Sarah there in the field and cave, deeded to him by the men of Heth as a burial plot. So here we see ancient burial practices as well, right? In a cave. Not much changed by the time Jesus' time came, right? And Lazarus in the New Testament, you see those burials as well. But here you see this kind of cave burial, wrapping up the bodies, putting them in a cave, and they have this whole land here. So I enjoy this. I find it really a chapter of new identity, of kind of remembering Abraham saying, hey, I'm part of this land. This is promised to me, even though I'm not receiving it yet, not in its fullness. I am trusting God, and I'm stepping out in faith. I'm holding fast to the promises of God. And that's what I want to do today as well. Hold fast to the promises of God. And so you might want to pick up one of those cool little promise, little Bible scripture books. Now, these are things I give out all the time, especially in chapel work. But we have these little paperbacks. You can I think they're like $1, but you just buy like Bible promise book. And you can just open up the Bible, or open up this little book to all the biblical promises designated by topic. And you can just look at those promises and just hold fast to those. And man, they're great. Just when you kind of go, man, I'm in the car and I'm at a red light or something, and I just need a scripture to kind of meditate on. You just pick up that little Bible promise book and read something and kind of hold fast to that in your mind. And that's trusting. You're stepping out in faith. You're learning to lean on the word. So very cool. Abraham is not going to hear from God. We're not going to see God have these encounters with him anymore in his life. And now what Abraham is doing is leaning on what God has already done. He's leaning on the way God has spoke to him in the past. And that's what we do too, is lean on how God has spoken to us in the past, and that helps us to trust God with our future. And anyway, great section, and I hope you guys got a lot out of that one, and that is certainly cool. Sue, going to be praying for you too, and definitely praying for that situation. That can be a difficult one. So I'm glad you guys are praying for one another and loving on one another. So you guys take care, okay? Have a good one. Have a great week. We're almost in December. Bye-bye.